The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman.
Good morning and welcome to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. If you'd like to get in touch with us, don't forget to hit us up on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook. You'd like to send me an email, blackfocusradio@gmail.com, especially if you'd like to be a sponsor. I'll put together a sponsorship package for you. We'll professionally record your spots. We'll write them for you. You don't have to worry about that. We'll get all of that taken care of for you. So hit us up. Don't forget to support our sponsors, ribrub.com, skintentional.com, and joinnetradio.com. So we've got a lot of stuff to talk about today. It's just everywhere. Of course, the New Hampshire primaries were last night. We're going to get you up to date on what happened and what's next for Nimrata Randhawa and Donald Trump. We're also going to talk a little bit about Tim Scott and, oh my God, talking about a person in a sunken place. Whew. Oh, what can I say about that? And we'll also remind you about Ben Carson. We're certainly going to talk about Nimrata Randhawa and her comments related to America is not a racist country, and give you some background on her family and how she can say it's not a racist country. So we're going to get into all of that today. We're also going to remind you of the people, the 10 congressmen who are still in Congress, who apparently there's been a release of a videotape where all of these people met on December 21st after the election in 2020 to figure out a way to try to overturn the election. Hopefully Jack Smith will be going after them real soon. I'm going to give you all of those names today. Okay? We got to talk about Daniel Penny. Y'all remember that guy? He's the one that murdered the black guy in the subway, the ex-Marine. We're going to talk about that. Wow. We got to talk about Charlamagne as well. Yeah. I don't use the adjective that he refers himself to because he's nowhere near a god. He's a fool. That's what he is, seeking fame and fortune more than anything else, and they are the worst kind. So that's what we've got on the agenda today. Big show. Hopefully you guys will stick and stay, and please don't go away. So in the meantime, in between time, as you all know, before we can get anything started, we've got to do Black Facts. Let's do that right now.
Dynamic Black Facts. Our culture, our history, our people.
In the annals of history, few civilizations have captured the imagination as vividly as the ancient empire of Carthage. Nestled in the heart of the Mediterranean on the fertile shores of North Africa, Carthage was a beacon of trade, culture, and military might. Beyond its bustling markets and thriving ports, Carthage was a city of architectural wonders. Its buildings, from grand temples to the formidable Kothon, mirrored an advanced civilization's aspirations and achievements. The urban landscape of Carthage, with its well-planned streets and sophisticated infrastructure, stood as a testament to the ingenuity and foresight of its people. Yet it was not just through commerce and architecture that Carthage etched its name in history. Its military prowess, symbolized by the legendary exploits of generals like Hannibal, was a force that shaped the destinies of empires. However, the sands of time hold tales of both rise and fall. The once great empire of Carthage, which stood as a beacon of affluence and power, eventually vanished, leaving behind ruins that whisper tales of its former glory. In this video, we turn back the hands of time to explore the rise and fall of the Carthaginian Empire. We delve into the heart of this ancient African empire, unraveling the story of how it became a pivotal force in the Mediterranean, and ultimately, how it was lost to the annals of time. Also, as a way of supporting the channel, hit the like button of the video, share and subscribe to help the channel grow. Your support means a lot to us. Origin and rise to power. Carthage's story begins around 814 BC, when Phoenician settlers, primarily from the prosperous city of Tyre in present-day Lebanon, ventured across the Mediterranean and founded a new settlement. The founding of Carthage is steeped in both historical and mythological accounts, most famously through the tale of Queen Elissa, also known as Dido. According to legend, Dido, fleeing from political turmoil in Tyre, led her followers to the North African coast. The story of Dido, immortalized in Virgil's Aeneid, intertwines romance, tragedy, and the indomitable spirit of a leader determined to establish a new kingdom. The choice of the location for Carthage was strategic. Situated near present-day Tunis in Tunisia, it lay on the crossroads of the eastern and western Mediterranean. This positioning was crucial for the development of trade routes. The natural harbors and the fertile lands surrounding Carthage made it an ideal spot for a trading hub, enabling it to grow from a modest settlement to a thriving port city. Carthage's initial growth can be attributed to its role as a center for the exchange of goods between the Mediterranean and the African hinterland. The Carthaginians, inheriting the seafaring and trading expertise of the Phoenicians, quickly established trade routes that connected them to distant lands. They traded in precious metals, textiles, ceramics, and a variety of agricultural products, which included the famed Tyrian purple dye made from the murex snail. As Carthage grew, so did its political and social structures. Unlike many contemporary civilizations, Carthage was a republic, where power was held by an aristocratic elite and exercised through a system of councils and magistrates. The most significant governing bodies were the Council of Elders and the Assembly of the People, which played crucial roles in the administration of the state and its foreign affairs. This political system was accompanied by a unique social structure. While the aristocracy held significant power, there was also a notable middle class, primarily composed of merchants and ship owners, who played a pivotal role in Carthage's economy. This social and political structure allowed for a degree of stability and flexibility, which was essential for Carthage's expansion and its ability to adapt to changing political and economic landscapes. Dominance over the Mediterranean. Carthage's dominance over the Mediterranean, an era marked by remarkable expansion and consolidation of power, is a period that vividly illustrates the city-state's prowess in trade, diplomacy, military strategy, and colonial administration. This phase in Carthaginian history saw the transformation of a modest Phoenician settlement into a mighty empire that rivaled the greatest powers of the ancient world. Carthage's strategic location in the central Mediterranean on the coast of modern-day Tunisia provided a significant advantage. It was perfectly positioned as a bridge between the rich resources of the African hinterlands and the bustling maritime trade routes of the Mediterranean. The foundation of Carthage's power lay in its extensive trade networks. As a seafaring nation, the Carthaginians were adept at navigating the Mediterranean and establishing trade links with various peoples and regions. Their ships, robust and agile, carried goods ranging from African grains to Spanish silver, facilitating not only economic growth but also cultural exchanges. Key to Carthage's trading success was its control of maritime routes. By dominating the seas, Carthage ensured safe passage for its merchant vessels, allowing for the efficient transport of goods. This control was achieved through a combination of naval prowess and the establishment of colonies and trading posts, which served as waypoints and trading hubs. Carthage's prowess in maritime trade was unrivaled in the ancient world. The Carthaginians were heirs to the Phoenician tradition of seafaring, renowned for their advanced shipbuilding techniques and navigational skills. They constructed a variety of ships, from large cargo vessels capable of transporting substantial quantities of goods to swift warships that protected their trading interests. These maritime capabilities allowed Carthage to establish far-reaching trade routes. Carthaginian ships sailed throughout the Mediterranean, venturing as far as the Atlantic coasts of Europe and Africa. Their knowledge of winds and currents was unparalleled, enabling them to navigate the seas with a proficiency that few could match. The wealth of Carthage was built on the trade of a diverse range of commodities. One of the most famous products associated with Carthage was the Tyrian purple dye, a luxury item highly prized in the ancient world for its vivid hue and durability. This dye was made from the murex snail and was a symbol of wealth and status. In addition to luxury items, Carthage traded in essential commodities that were the staples of ancient economies. These included grains from the fertile lands of North Africa, which were crucial to feeding the populations of the Mediterranean. Carthage also traded in olive oil and wine, both highly valued in ancient cuisine and culture. Precious metals were another cornerstone of Carthage's trade. The city's merchants traded in gold, silver, and copper, sourced from regions like the Iberian Peninsula. These metals were not only used in commerce but also played a vital role in Carthage's monetary system. The hinterlands of Carthage were rich in agricultural resources, providing the city with a steady supply of food and raw materials. The Carthaginians were skilled farmers, utilizing advanced agricultural techniques to maximize the productivity of their lands. They cultivated a variety of crops, including grains, fruits, and vegetables, which not only sustained the local population, but also formed a significant part of their trade goods. Carthage was not only a center of trade but also of manufacturing. The city boasted a thriving industrial sector, with skilled craftsmen producing goods ranging from textiles and pottery to metalwork and shipbuilding materials. Carthaginian artisans were renowned for their craftsmanship, particularly in the production of fine ceramics and intricate jewelry, which were sought after across the Mediterranean. The economic administration of Carthage was sophisticated, with the city's leaders implementing policies that facilitated trade and commerce. Taxes and tariffs were levied on goods, providing a significant source of revenue for the state. The Carthaginians also developed a system of currency, minting their own coins, which facilitated trade and helped in standardizing economic transactions. Carthage's trade networks were extensive, reaching beyond the immediate Mediterranean region. The Carthaginians established commercial alliances with various peoples and cities, from the Greek city-states to the indigenous tribes of North Africa and Europe. These alliances were not only economic, but often had political and military dimensions, as Carthage sought to protect its trade routes and expand its influence. Carthage's strategy of expansion involved the establishment of colonies and outposts across the Mediterranean. These were not just economic centers, but also served as military bases and cultural outposts, spreading Carthaginian influence far beyond the shores of North Africa. One of the most contested areas was the island of Sicily. Rich in resources and strategically located, Sicily was a focal point of Carthaginian expansion. Carthage established numerous settlements on the island, the most prominent being Lilybaeum, which served as a major military and naval base. The struggle for control of Sicily led to prolonged conflicts with Greek city-states and later with Rome. Sardinia and Corsica islands were crucial in maintaining Carthage's dominance in the western Mediterranean. They provided not only valuable resources, but also served as strategic points for controlling sea routes. The Carthaginians fortified these islands, making them integral parts of their empire. Carthage's expansion into the Iberian Peninsula was driven by its rich mineral resources, particularly silver. This expansion was both economic and military, with Carthage establishing a strong presence in the region. The city of New Carthage, modern-day Cartagena, was founded as a major port and became central to Carthaginian operations in the area. Society and culture. The Carthaginian society was a melting pot of cultures, largely due to its Phoenician roots and interactions with various Mediterranean civilizations. This multiculturalism was reflected in its language, art, and religious practices. The societal framework of Carthage was characterized by a stratified yet fluid structure. At the top were the wealthy aristocrats, mostly comprising landowners and merchant princes who wielded considerable political and economic power. These elites played a crucial role in governing the city through the Council of Elders and the Popular Assembly. Below the aristocracy there was a substantial middle class, primarily made up of merchants, ship captains, artisans, and skilled laborers. This class was the backbone of Carthage's economic might, especially in maritime trade. Unlike many ancient societies, Carthage provided opportunities for social mobility, largely due to its mercantile and maritime nature. At the bottom of the social hierarchy were the laborers, farmers, and slaves. Slavery was a common institution in Carthage, as it was in many ancient civilizations, with slaves being employed in various sectors, from agriculture to domestic service. Carthage's culture was a rich amalgam of its Phoenician heritage and the various influences absorbed from the many peoples with whom the Carthaginians interacted. This multiculturalism was evident in various aspects. While the primary language was Punic, a derivative of the Phoenician language, Greek and other languages were also widely spoken, especially in trade and diplomatic relations. Carthaginian art and architecture displayed a fusion of Phoenician, Greek, Egyptian, and local African elements. This eclectic mix was evident in their pottery, sculptures, and the design of their buildings and cities. Carthage religion. The religious practices of Carthage were predominantly Phoenician, worshipping a pantheon of gods including Baal-Hamon, Tanit, and Melkart. Often considered the chief god of the Carthaginian pantheon, Baal-Hamon was a deity of fertility and renewal. He was commonly depicted as a bearded figure, sometimes wearing a headdress with ram's horns, symbolizing his association with agriculture and fertility. Tanit was a major goddess and is often considered the consort of Baal-Hamon. She played a multifaceted role in Carthaginian religion, associated with motherhood, fertility, and the life-giving aspects of nature. Tanit was also a symbol of the city of Carthage itself, embodying its prosperity and vitality. Borrowed from the Tyrian pantheon, Melkart was venerated as a god of the sea and navigation, reflecting the maritime orientation of Carthaginian society. He was also associated with the cyclical nature of life and death, underscoring the connection between the maritime voyages and the broader cosmological views of the Carthaginians. There was also Eshmun. Eshmun was revered as a god of healing and health, highlighting the importance of well-being in Carthaginian society. His worship was likely influenced by interactions with Greek and other foreign cultures, where similar deities were revered. Carthaginian religious practice was characterized by a range of rituals and ceremonies designed to appease the gods and ensure the city's prosperity. The act of sacrifice was central to Carthaginian worship. These ranged from the burning of incense and the offering of food and drink to more significant animal sacrifices, which were conducted in temples and at altars throughout the city. Religious festivals were common in Carthage, often marked by processions and public celebrations. These festivals served not only religious purposes, but also social and political functions, reinforcing communal bonds and the city's hierarchy. Temples were focal points of religious activity in Carthage. These structures were not only places of worship, but also centers of social and economic activity. The priesthood associated with these temples played a significant role in Carthaginian society, acting as intermediaries between the gods and the people. Carthaginian religion was not static. It evolved over time, incorporating elements from the cultures with which Carthage interacted. This syncretism is evident in the adoption and adaptation of gods from the Greek, Roman, and Egyptian pantheons. Such assimilation reflected the cosmopolitan nature of Carthaginian society and its ability to blend different cultural elements into a coherent religious framework. Architectural marvels. Carthage, at the zenith of its power, was not only a hub of commerce and trade, but also a beacon of architectural ingenuity and urban planning. Its architectural accomplishments, reflecting both the sophistication of Carthaginian society and the influence of various cultures with which it interacted, were among the most advanced in the ancient world. The city of Carthage was laid out with a level of urban planning that was advanced for its time. Its design reflected both practical needs and the city's status as a major Mediterranean power. The heart of Carthage was Byrsa Hill, a high citadel that provided a strategic vantage point over the city and the sea. Around this central hill, the city spread out in a planned and orderly manner. The streets of Carthage were well organized, typically laid out in a grid pattern, a hallmark of advanced urban planning. This grid system facilitated not only the movement of people and goods, but also the administration of the city. Major roads were wide and lined with shops and public buildings, while smaller streets and alleys branched off into residential areas. The residential quarters of Carthage were characterized by multi-storied houses, many of which had internal courtyards. These homes were often lavishly decorated, with fine mosaics and painted walls, reflecting the wealth and status of their occupants. The presence of sophisticated water systems and sanitation facilities within these residences indicated a high standard of living and an understanding of public health. Among the architectural marvels of Carthage, the Kothon stands out. This man-made harbor was an engineering feat, showcasing Carthage's mastery in maritime architecture. The harbor was divided into two parts, an outer rectangular merchant harbor and an inner circular military harbor. The merchant harbor was used for commercial activities, facilitating the loading and unloading of goods from across the Mediterranean and beyond. The military harbor, on the other hand, was exclusively for the Carthaginian navy. It featured docks and ship sheds arranged around the harbor's circumference, providing efficient and secure facilities for the fleet. The harbors were equipped with massive quays and warehouses, illustrating the scale of Carthage's maritime trade. The entrance to the military harbor was reportedly adorned with 2 colossal columns, and the entire complex was fortified, making it a symbol of Carthaginian power and prosperity. Another significant architectural feature of Carthage was the Tophet, a sacred burial ground. The Tophet was associated with religious and funerary practices, particularly those related to child burials. This site contained a large number of stelae and urns, providing insights into the religious beliefs and practices of the Carthaginians. Carthage was home to numerous temples and religious structures, reflecting the importance of religion in Carthaginian society. These temples were often grand in scale and richly decorated, with intricate carvings and statues. The most significant deities, such as Baal-Hamon and Tanit, had large temple complexes dedicated to them, which served as centers of worship and religious activity. These temples were not just spiritual centers, they were also integral to the social and cultural life of the city. They often housed schools, libraries, and meeting spaces, playing a vital role in the civic life of Carthage. Carthaginian architecture was influenced by a variety of cultures, including the Phoenicians, Greeks, and Egyptians. This amalgamation of styles was a testament to Carthage's interactions with different Mediterranean civilizations. For instance, the use of columns and certain architectural motifs showed Greek influence, while Egyptian elements could be seen in the use of obelisks and certain religious symbols. Military and wars. The military might of Carthage was a cornerstone of its power in the ancient Mediterranean world. Carthage's armed forces were distinguished by their naval strength and a unique composition of their army, which included a significant number of mercenaries from various ethnic backgrounds. Naval power. Carthage's naval dominance was a key factor in its control over the Mediterranean trade routes and its territorial expansions. The Carthaginian navy was renowned for its advanced shipbuilding techniques, inherited and refined from their Phoenician ancestors, who were among the best shipbuilders of their time. These ships, particularly the war galleys, were fast, maneuverable, and equipped with the infamous ram at the bow, used to devastating effect in naval battles. The sailors and marines of the Carthaginian fleet were well trained and experienced, having honed their skills through years of protecting Carthage's vast trading network. This expertise was evident in several naval engagements where Carthaginian fleets outmaneuvered and outclassed their adversaries. The army. The composition of the Carthaginian army was unique in the ancient world. Unlike the citizen armies of Greece and Rome, Carthage relied heavily on mercenaries. These soldiers were recruited from across the Mediterranean and included Iberians, Gauls, Greeks, and Numidians, among others. The use of mercenaries had both advantages and disadvantages. While it allowed Carthage to field a large and diverse army, it also posed challenges in terms of loyalty and cohesion. Despite these challenges, the Carthaginian army was effective, thanks in large part to its skilled generals. Commanders like Hamilcar Barca and his son Hannibal were not only brilliant strategists but also adept at managing the diverse elements within their armies. The Punic Wars. The Punic Wars were a series of 3 major conflicts between Carthage and Rome, shaping the destiny of both powers. These wars were primarily fought over control of Sicily and the Western Mediterranean, but they were also a clash of ideologies and ways of life. The First Punic War. The First Punic War, from 264 to 241 BC, was primarily a naval conflict. It began over a dispute in Sicily and saw Carthage and Rome vying for control of the island. The war highlighted the strength of the Carthaginian navy, but it also revealed the resilience and adaptability of Rome, which built a large fleet from scratch. The war ended with Carthage's defeat, and Sicily became Rome's first overseas province. The Second Punic War and Hannibal's campaign. The Second Punic War, from 218 to 201 BC, is the most famous of the 3, largely due to Hannibal's remarkable campaign against Rome. Hannibal Barca, one of history's greatest military commanders, took the war to the heart of Roman territory by famously crossing the Alps with his army, which included war elephants. This audacious move caught Rome off guard, and Hannibal achieved several stunning victories in Italian soil, including the Battle of Cannae, one of the most celebrated tactical masterpieces in military history. However, despite his successes in Italy, Hannibal was unable to force Rome into a decisive confrontation that would end the war. Meanwhile, the Roman general Scipio Africanus took the fight to Carthage's territories in Spain and eventually invaded North Africa, forcing Hannibal to return to defend his homeland. The war culminated in the Battle of Zama, where Scipio defeated Hannibal, marking the end of Carthage's position as a major power. The Third Punic War and Carthage's fall. The Third Punic War, from 149 to 146 BC, was initiated by Rome under the pretext of a breach of treaty terms by Carthage. The Third Punic War marked the beginning of the end for Carthage. This conflict marked the final chapter in the centuries-long rivalry between Rome and Carthage, and it was driven as much by Roman fear and resentment of Carthage's former power as by any real threat that the weakened Carthaginian state posed. After the devastating loss in the Second Punic War, Carthage struggled to recover. Its commercial activities were severely restricted by the peace treaty with Rome, and it was forced to pay a crippling indemnity. Despite these hardships, Carthage managed to regain some of its economic strength, which alarmed Rome. The Romans, led by figures like Cato the Elder, who famously ended his speeches with the phrase, "Carthago delenda est," Carthage must be destroyed, began to look for a pretext to finish their ancient rival, once and for all. The Third Punic War began in 149 BC, when Rome demanded unreasonable concessions from Carthage, including abandoning their city and moving inland. Carthage refused, and Rome laid siege to the city. The siege of Carthage was long and brutal. The Carthaginians, under the leadership of Hasdrubal and the people themselves, mounted a desperate and fierce resistance. They endured starvation and hardship, even resorting to manufacturing weapons and supplies within the city as their resources dwindled. In 146 BC, the Romans finally breached Carthage's defenses after a grueling 3-year siege. The city was systematically destroyed, its buildings were demolished, its inhabitants were killed or sold into slavery, and its very earth was reputedly sown with salt to ensure that nothing would grow there again. This act, whether literal or symbolic, represented Rome's intent to obliterate Carthage from memory. Carthage under Roman rule. The destruction of Carthage was not the end of the story for the fabled city. In a twist of history, the site of Carthage would again rise to prominence, this time under Roman rule. About a century after its destruction, Carthage was refounded by Julius Caesar as a Roman colony. It quickly regained its status as a major urban center in the Mediterranean. Under the Roman Empire, Carthage became the capital of the province of Africa, and was second only to Rome in terms of size and importance in the western part of the empire. Much of Carthage's original architecture was lost when the city was destroyed by the Romans at the end of the Third Punic War. The Romans razed Carthage, and the city lay in ruins for over a century. When it was eventually rebuilt by the Romans, the new city reflected Roman architectural styles and urban planning. This Roman Carthage had its own architectural marvels, including a grand amphitheater, baths, and the Antonine Baths, one of the largest bath complexes of the Roman world. The Roman reconstruction, while impressive, means that much of the original Carthaginian architecture is known only through archaeological remains and historical accounts. Roman Carthage was a vibrant cultural and intellectual hub. It boasted impressive public buildings, including a grand amphitheater, baths, temples, and a forum. The city's layout reflected Roman urban planning, with a grid of streets, aqueducts providing water, and grand villas exemplifying Roman architectural prowess. Carthage became a center of education and learning. Its schools of rhetoric and philosophy attracted students from across the empire. One of the most notable figures associated with Roman Carthage was Augustine of Hippo, a key figure in Christian theology. Augustine studied and taught in Carthage before his conversion to Christianity, and his writings would have a profound impact on Christian doctrine and Western philosophy. Under Roman rule, Carthage regained much of its former economic prosperity. It became an important center for the production of olive oil and grain, which were exported throughout the empire. The surrounding fertile lands, combined with the efficient Roman administrative system, allowed Carthage to prosper once more. The religious landscape of Carthage changed significantly under Roman rule. While the traditional Punic gods were still revered, Roman and later Christian deities began to take precedence. With the spread of Christianity, Carthage became an important bishopric, and it played a significant role in the early Christian church, especially in the theological debates and councils of the time. Carthage today. The ancient city of Carthage, once the heart of a mighty empire, now lies in ruins near the modern city of Tunis, the vibrant capital of Tunisia. These ruins, a UNESCO World Heritage Site since 1979, offer a poignant glimpse into the past, glories and eventual downfall of one of the ancient world's most influential civilizations. Today, the site of ancient Carthage is a significant tourist attraction and an archaeological treasure trove. Visitors to the site can walk through the remains of this once great city, exploring its storied past. Key landmarks include the Byrsa Hill, with its commanding view of the surrounding area and the remnants of ancient Carthaginian and Roman buildings, the Roman Theatre, the Antonine Baths, one of the largest Roman bath complexes in Africa, and the Tophet, the ancient sanctuary that has offered invaluable insights into Carthaginian religious practices. The ruins, though reflective of Carthage's grandeur, are also a testament to its violent destruction. Visitors can see layers of history, from the Punic era through the Roman reconstruction and beyond, providing a tangible link to the past. Carthage's legacy in the annals of history is multifaceted and profound. As a major power of the ancient Mediterranean, Carthage played a critical role in shaping the political, economic, and cultural landscapes of the region. While Carthage lies in ruins today, its history would never be forgotten. This brings us to the end of this video. Tell us what you think in the comments section, as we're always interested in your thoughts. As always, don't forget to like the video, subscribe to our channel and share our videos to let more people know the truth about blacks and to hear their own part of the narratives. Thanks for watching.
Keep listening to Black Focus Radio for more dynamic black facts, our culture, our history, our people on joynetradio.com.
Hi, I'm David W. Coleman, host of Black Focus Radio and the weekly sports magazine. We here at joynetradio.com would like to thank you for all the love and support you've given us. Our goal is to keep you inspired and informed daily with quality programming from gospel music, news, talk, and sports. Log on to joynetradio.com for the program lineup, and while there, be sure to make a donation. Then download our app and carry us anywhere in the world. Please continue to spread the word about joynetradio.com. And if you are an entrepreneur or have an upcoming event or you'd like to start a show, let the professional writers and producers here at joynetradio.com help you get the word out. Call me at 615-554-0568 for more details. In the meantime, stay informed and inspired daily right here on joynetradio.com.
David W. Coleman here for Coleman's Dynamic Rib Rub and Rib Nuts. Go to ribrub.com, that's RIBBRUBB.com right now, and stock up on the best dry marinades for baking, grilling, and smoking your favorite meats. 3 great flavors, hot and spicy, original, and scorching. Try them at your next cookout and you will shout, bake it, grill it, shake it, oh yeah! Only one place to get Coleman's Dynamic products, that's ribrub.com. Easy to order, and I'll ship direct to you or to friends and family anywhere in the United States. While on the site, be sure to check out other great items, especially the rib nuts. Who'd have thunk it? Peanuts sauteed in a barbecue marinade? That's just crazy good. Get them at ribrub.com right now, along with other great recipes. That's ribrub.com. If you don't like my rib rub or rib nuts, I'll give you money back. Do it today. That's Coleman's Dynamic Products at ribrub.com.
Listen! Did you miss Dr. Ernest Gill from UT San Antonio?
When you're making $455 million off these student athletes and all you can come up with is $5,000, John Calipari makes $8 million a year, and his players are going to get $5,000 a year. The majority of these teams were white men and white males and females. Would this be happening? And I would say no, because their families wouldn't let it happen. But we're letting our kids get pimped.
Join the weekly sports magazine every Saturday, 8 to 10 a.m. on joynetradio.com.
And don't forget, if you would like to sponsor Dynamic Black Facts, give me a call at 615-554-0568. We are looking for sponsors for Dynamic Black Facts. We're looking for sponsors for What We Must Do. That's coming up later in the show, along with some of the other things that we've got going on. It's relatively inexpensive. If you would like to get your business out in the public on a national level, then Black Focus Radio is the show for you with a minimal cost. That's what's important, more so than anything else. I wanted to play that black fact. It's about the Carthaginians. And of course, we growing up, or at least most of us growing up, who followed, who got more information about black history than others, knew about Hannibal. Hannibal the Great was the great warrior who chased the Romans across the Alps on elephants. And recently we've come to know that it looks like Denzel Washington is going to play Hannibal in an upcoming movie. Now, that's what they're saying. And of course, some of the Carthaginians and the Tunisians are upset because Denzel Washington is a dark-skinned black man. Well, so was Hannibal. In fact, so were the majority of the people in Africa. Of course, Carthage is in northern Africa. And they're saying, well, this is not going to be right. Get over your racism. Well, none of you all were there during these times. All of those people were dark-skinned people. So get over yourself. So just to give you some information about Carthage as a whole is why I wanted to play that. And I'm looking forward to Denzel Washington in that role. Man, I've been watching The Equalizer. If you haven't seen that one, the latest one, oh man, Denzel is a beast. But anyway, we got a lot of stuff to talk about today, and I will tell you, we're going to talk about a few things today, and we're going to start off, I guess, with Daniel Penny. Daniel Penny, if you all remember, was the ex-Marine who was riding in a subway, and a young black male who many people now have said that who had suffered mental illness. He had dressed a lot like Michael Jackson and would dance in New York on the subway in order to earn money or get money from people. He was on a subway that particular day, and Daniel Penny decided that he was going to take matters in his own hand. And look, let's be realistic. Let's be realistic, okay? There are times when you're out in the public and you meet these homeless people, and I'm gonna tell you, they can be annoying. I'm talking about like the ones who will come up to your car and wash your windows and expect for you to pay them. No, I'm not gonna do that. And you say, get away, or some of them won't take no for an answer, and they'll just keep harassing you. And some people will capitulate and go ahead and give them money. Now, I'm not that kind of guy. If I tell you to get the heck away from me, get away from me, okay? Sometimes I'll give them money, sometimes I won't. What I found, and what many people have found, is that a lot of these people who are feigning homelessness, and you can usually tell when someone is homeless, they're making money just standing on the corner. You get money, putting money in their little cups or whatever the case may be. So this young man, Mr. Neely, Jordan Neely was his name. He was on the subway. I won't say he was, and even if he was harassing people, what his fate ended up being was not necessarily what it should have been. And as of late, a judge has denied Daniel Penny's request to dismiss the Jordan Neely subway murder, because it was murder. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. If you remember the video, he walks up behind Neely, grabs him, puts him in a chokehold, and clearly a chokehold that he had learned while in the military, and put him to the ground and would not let him go, as even some of the passengers were telling him, please let him go, please let him go. And by the way, he was not arrested at the scene at the time. Okay? So apparently his attorney, by the way, paid for by donations that white people had sent him. Hello? So you all still think America's not a racist country? Nikki, Nimrata Randhawa. We're gonna talk about that here in a little bit. Oh, I can't wait to get to that. All right, so here's the latest on that. A New York judge recently declined to dismiss the case against Daniel Penny, the Marine veteran who placed a black subway rider, Jordan Neely, in a fatal chokehold last year. Penny, 25, pleaded not guilty in June after a grand jury indicted him on charges of second-degree manslaughter and criminally negligent homicide in the May 1st death of Neely, who was 30, a known subway busker, and performed dance routines in a Michael Jackson costume. Penny and Neely were riding the F train in Manhattan when the latter began a somewhat aggressive speech about how he was thirsty and hungry. Okay? A witness, Juan Alberto Vasquez, caught the entire altercation on camera. The video showed Penny on the ground holding Neely in a chokehold while two other passengers helped to restrain him. Vasquez said the chokehold lasted for 15 minutes. Now, you heard two other passengers were restraining him. I'm wondering why those passengers weren't brought up on charges. And maybe they will be eventually, but in fact, if you all participated in that crime, why weren't you all charged as well? The video showed Penny on the ground holding him in a chokehold. Vasquez said the chokehold lasted about 15 minutes. Now, let me ask you something. You will die if you don't have air in about 3 minutes. I just said he held him for 15 minutes and wouldn't let him go, by the way. Penny, who was white, said he was defending himself and others. Now, wait a minute. You couldn't have been defending yourself because Neely wasn't even looking at you when this incident occurred, according to the video. You walked up behind him. So how could you be defending yourself? All right. He said Neely began aggressively threatening people. In October, his attorneys filed court documents seeking a dismissal of the case, saying one of the passengers was afraid he was going to die. Now, really? Did one of those passengers say that? And were there any weapons or anything like that was drawn by Mr. Neely that suggested that someone was going to die? I'm just asking for a friend. Okay? At the time of his death, Neely was homeless and had mental health issues. His family said he struggled since his mother was murdered in 2007. And that's kind of sad that his mom was murdered and then he ends up getting murdered. Dante Mills, an attorney for the Neely family, said the judge's decision was a big win. He goes on to say, I think it's important to know that the grand jury said Daniel Penny should face charges for killing Jordan Neely. His attorney tried to get the judge to overrule that, to say that what the grand jury said didn't matter, but the judge didn't do it. The judge said Daniel Penny will face charges, and he deserves to be facing charges. We're coming back in March, and our expectation is that Daniel Penny is going to be found guilty of killing Mr. Jordan. Now, I'm going to just go out on a limb right now and just say, if he's not found guilty, it's going to get ugly. Look, I firmly believe that black people are tired of white people killing black people. Now, we should be tired of black people killing black people. But this vigilante justice that white people call themselves doing is not going to fly anymore. Because if black people are out there doing vigilante justice, that old saying, if you believe in an eye for an eye, at some point everybody's going to be blind. Okay? So we need to be careful about that. The attorney for Penny said, while we disagree with the court's decision not to dismiss the indictment, we understand that the legal threshold to continue even an ill-conceived prosecution is very low. An ill-conceived prosecution? You can walk up behind a man and choke him out for 15 minutes, kill him, and you don't think you should be prosecuted? Now, I know you're an attorney, you're the defense attorney, and you're going to say those stupid things, but at the end of the day, that holds no water whatsoever, ever. Danny is grateful for the continued prayers and support through his difficult process. So though that support, by the way, is money that is being sent to his attorney to cover his legal fees, and that money is being sent by white folks. Let's just be honest. We know where that's coming from. Neely was unconscious when officers arrived at the Broadway East Houston Street subway station. He was pronounced dead at the hospital. The city medical examiner said he died from compression of the neck and ruled the matter of death a homicide. His death sparked a national debate and renewed calls to address homelessness, mental health, and violence on subways. Yeah. Those are issues that we'll cover in other shows, but at the end of the day, as I said earlier, there have been many a times where homeless people have harassed me, bothered me, irritated me, and not ever have I wanted to choke that particular person out or kill them. Y'all get that right. Daniel Penny is a murderer. Period. End of story. And he deserves to be in jail. And here's the other thing that nobody's talking about. He was in the Marines. How do we know that this guy wasn't suffering from PTSD? And even if he was, that might be an argument that he come out. He still has to be held accountable. He still has to be held accountable. At the end of the day, Jordan Neely is not coming back. Daniel Penny, even if he goes to jail at some point, unless they give him life, which they're not going to give him life, unless he goes to jail, he's going to come out and he's going to be healthy. He's going to be able to live, particularly, especially start his life over, start a family, all of those things. Jordan Neely is not going to get a second chance. Daniel Penny deserves to be in jail. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Let's see what else we want to talk about. We talked a little bit last week about the Attorney General's report as it relates to Uvalde. And the question is, those cops were not going to go in that room regardless. They would rather those little kids get killed. Now, here's the other thing. If those kids would have been white, would they have had a different mindset? Makes you wonder. I don't know that they would have, because some of those officers were Hispanic, but the Attorney General basically said this was a debacle. It was the worst means of law enforcement that they've ever seen. And I saw a cartoon the other day that I thought that was certainly apropos to this particular subject. It was a cartoon of police. They have masked at the border, and they've got guns drawn. And in the Rio Grande, there's a woman walking across the river trying to come to America. And they've got guns trained on this woman and her baby. In another panel, the second panel of the cartoon, the police are masked outside the door where the children are being murdered inside the room in Uvalde. And one of the police officers with two fingers kind of tosses a gun in the room at the teacher. One of the best cartoons I've ever seen. What an abomination. And the question is now, not only should the district chief be prosecuted, will any of those police officers be prosecuted? Because that was a dereliction of duty. If nothing else, they ought to be fired. That whole police department needs to be shut down. It needs to be completely shut down. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Okay? So keep your eyes on what goes on with that. We'll see what happens. I've got so much stuff that I want to try to get to. We're going to talk about Matthew Kroll. We're going to talk about Trivia Cootie as well. Those names may not be familiar to you, but we're going to take a break. And when we come back, I want to talk a little bit about the ignorance, or maybe I'll tell you what, let's see here. Let's see. I tell you what, when we come back, we're going to talk about Charlamagne. And then the next hour, we're going to launch into the political hour. Because, as I said, last night the New Hampshire primary took place, and it's some interesting things that are coming out of that, and we got to talk about all of that, and we'll just spend the next hour mainly talking about the politics of America. So let's take a break. You've been listening to Black Focus Radio. I'm Dynamic Dave. I'll be back in a moment.
Ladies, are you looking for high quality, natural products for your skin and soul? Skintentional is for you. We feature handcrafted, luxurious, natural baths and body care products. At Skintentional, we firmly believe that self-care should be an intentional and enjoyable experience. We strive to infuse every product with a sense of fun and purpose. Crafting each item with love and care, we take pride in selecting only the finest natural ingredients. From luscious shea butter to revitalizing essential oils, every element is carefully chosen to protect, restore, and enhance your skin's natural beauty. We provide skincare specifically with you in mind. Try our soaps, scrubs, and facial oils for children and adults. Skintentional has something for the whole family, including the man in your life. Self-care should be an intentional and joyous experience for all. Go to skintentional.com right now for great discounts and begin experiencing what skincare products should be.
Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at BreaRub.com. Holman's Dynamic Pepper Juice is lighting fires around the country. It's the new product from RibRub.com. Use it on meats and vegetables. Add it to your gumbos and greens for an extra punch. Made with all natural ingredients, Coleman's Dynamic Pepper Juice will enhance the flavors of your favorite recipes. Order today on RibRub.com. And while there, be sure to check out some of our other great products. It's developed with love and care using the best all-natural ingredients with no GMOs or preservatives. From snacks to seasonings, Coleman's Dynamic Products has something for everyone. Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at BreaRub.com.
LeBron James is the greatest player we've seen this generation. You have to be careful when you start saying, and so, well, he wasn't as good as Michael, or he wasn't as good as Magic. Every generation you get that. You begin to sound like that old man that lives down the street, and every time you walk on his yard, or you even walk by his yard, he's on the porch, and he's got that little crooked finger. He's like, get off my lawn! Get off my lawn! Join me Saturday mornings at 8 for the weekly sports magazine on JoinetRadio.com. Get off my lawn!
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. I'm Dynamic Dave. We're here every day, Monday through Friday. We try to get you a live show. Don't forget, we've kind of transitioned to the DMV area, the Washington, D.C., Baltimore, Virginia area, but we still try to bring you live content. We're able to give you better content here as we're closer to the political spectrum in the United States and around the world. This hour, as we begin to move towards next hour, we're going to talk a lot of politics next hour. But I want to start with Charlamagne. Now, many of you older people may not even know who this guy is. He calls himself Charlamagne the God. Look, we all have nicknames, all right? No. What he thinks he's a god of, I have no idea. Maybe it started off as a rap name, whatever the case may be. But this guy's no closer to God than the devil, as far as I'm concerned. Now, I know a lot of young people like him. I know a lot of young people listen to his show. That's fine. He has a show called, and I'm not going to even call the name because I don't even want to give him credibility. But most of his shows is nothing but mess. It's rappers, it's people attacking people. They're doing stuff to make people watch the show. It's sensationalism, in other words. as of late, I've been seeing him on quote unquote, what can I say, credible news sources. And the most recent ones that he's been on are conservative media. And what people don't realize, or what he doesn't understand, because he's been very critical of the Biden administration, and I have too as well. Have they done everything that they've said they were going to do for the black community? No, they're not. No, they haven't. And part of the reason they haven't is because of legislation. All right. If you want them to be able to do the things that they want to do, then y'all need to get your asses out to vote. That's part of the problem. Okay? So if you're not going out and voting on a regular basis, and not just voting for the president, but voting against those people who stand against some of the things that you need done in your communities, then no, you're not going to get everything you need. But again, you don't understand politics and how it works. And here is this person making these protestations, and the conservative media is eating it up. They love it. Yeah, we got a black guy out there talking the same thing that we're talking. And his idiocy doesn't make him understand that the things that you are saying falls right in line with things that are going to minimize your community. He's been on Fox News. He's been on other outlets as well. And the sad thing about it really is that he doesn't understand what he's doing because he's ignorant. He's gotten famous by a radio show that really highlighted rappers and things of that nature. Now all of a sudden he wants to shift and start thinking, want people to take him more serious. Well, you have to have some credibility, and you have none, Charlamagne. I don't forget what his real name is, and I don't think it's even relevant at this point. So Joy Reid called him out, and many other black leaders have called him out, and rightfully so. And his defense was basically this, is that I'm not speaking for the black community, I'm speaking for Charlamagne the God. Yeah, you are. Whether no one has anointed you to speak for the black community at all, but when you go on those white programs, yeah, you are speaking. That's what they want you for. The average person out there doesn't understand that you're speaking for yourself. They understand that you're speaking for black folks on a white radio station or a white television show or whatever the case may be. You get that? No credibility at all. And unfortunately, many of us buy him hook, line, and sinker, especially our young people. Now, I know we go different places to get our news. There's nothing wrong with that. I'm proud of that. That's part of what this show is. But at the end of the day, if that person is spreading misinformation or disinformation, regardless of his skin color, we all should be concerned. And we all should be willing to call him out for what he is. And he's nothing more than a pawn. But he's doing it because, look, think about it. I remember when I first started radio, we were doing, our station was an ESPN affiliate. And we got a call that, I never forgot what, they wanted to talk about some things that were going on with the Titans. And they called, the national show always calls the local affiliate. And they wanted someone to come on to talk about some of the things that were going on with the Titans. So the program director called me and said, "Dave, are you free? Can you go on and talk a little bit about the Titans, yada yada?" And of course I was like, "Yes, I'm going national." I mean, I'm thinking this to myself. Of course, I was really nervous, but it was great to know that my voice, my name, would be heard across the national spectrum. Later on, I got a call for some friends. I grew up in Little Rock, Arkansas, and they said, "Hey, man, I heard you on ESPN." So that stuck my chest out even more. The first thing I asked them, I said, "Well, what I said, did it make sense?" They said, "Oh, man, you were on point." That's the whole point, is that you want to make sure that the things you say are on point. But more importantly, to get that national lick really made me feel good. And I'm saying that about Charlamagne as well, because this is really what this is all about. He's getting that national lick. He's being recognized by white folks. And you know, the white man, when the white man says you okay, then you okay. Yeah, right. You get that, right? So it's interesting to see how this is happening. But I'm glad that a lot of people in the black media are calling him out, because they deserve to call him out. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Now, that doesn't mean that black people should not hold the Biden administration accountable for things that he said he should do. But at the end of the day, a lot of things that are happening has benefited our community. Has it done it totally? No. No, it hasn't. But I asked the question as we start heading toward our politics for next hour. I asked the question, which is really going to be good for the black community? Huh? With that being said, before we get out of this hour, I want to tell you about the video I saw. The Daily Show goes out a lot to these Trump rallies, right? And part of the reason that these people support Trump is they're pure ignorant. I'm not going to mince words. Some people say, oh, Dave, don't call them ignorant. Well, what would you like for me to call them? I'm going to call them ignorant, because they are. They have no clue. Many of them are uneducated. Okay? And you see it over and over and over again. Just do yourself a favor and go out online and look at that. But the Daily Show goes out to the recent Trump rally. I think they went Iowa this time. They were in New Hampshire. And he asked them a question about book banning. And first they said, well, should there be prayer in school? And all of them said, oh, yeah, there should be prayer in public schools and Catholic schools. Well, number one, to show you how stupid you are, and I don't mince words because you're stupid. If you've ever been to a Catholic school, and I have, by the way, early on I went to a Catholic kindergarten, they have prayer in school. Okay? They have prayer in school. So that's one thing. But the other thing is, more importantly, that to have prayer in public schools is not a good thing. We were founded on freedom of religion, not Christianity. That's number two. But he asked them, he said, hey, look, should we ban books that have sexual orientation and things of that nature in schools? Oh, yeah, we should ban those books. Yeah, those are terrible. He said, I read a book, and it was about a young man. In the book, there was a story about two daughters who got their father drunk and ended up having sex with him. Should we ban that book in schools? Every one of them. Yeah, that's terrible. That's horrible. We should not be teaching incest. Will y'all go out and read this for me? It's Genesis 19, 30 through 37. I'm just going to leave it right there for you. The point I'm trying to make is that these people are dumb as boxes of rocks. That is a story from the Bible, among many other horrendous stories in the Bible. There's a reason why the Bible is in the fiction section in libraries. Hello, let's be realistic. But the point I'm trying to make is that these people are dumb, they're ignorant, and I'm going to give you some more information next hour about just how stupid these Trump followers are, like Trevor Cootie, like Matthew Kroll. Y'all stick and stay. Don't go away. It's called Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. UnjoinedRadio.com.
The views and opinions expressed today on Black Focus Radio are not the views and opinions of the station, its management, or its advertisers. Now, let's get ready to focus on our issues, our solutions, using our voices on Black Focus Radio.
Welcome to Black Focus, the show designed with our community in mind, where we focus on our issues, developing our solutions, using our voices. Central Arkansas, surrounding areas, and the nation. Get ready. Black Focus starts right now. Phone lines open at 855-525-5683. So here's your host, David W. Coleman.
Welcome back to Black Focus Radio, the second hour of the show. I'm Dynamic Dave. We're here every day, Monday through Friday, right here on joynetradio.com. Don't forget the podcast. Let's go out and search it for your favorite podcast platform and look for Black Focus Radio, and we'll be there. Okay? A lot of stuff to talk about this hour. We're going to mainly focus on politics this entire hour. I've got some interesting things. We're going to talk about Tim Scott. We're going to talk about Ben Carson. We're going to talk about Trevor Yakuti. And we're going to talk about Matthew Kroll, as well as Nimrata Randhawa. Of course, the New Hampshire primary for the Republicans was last night. She lost by close to 14 points. She came out on the stage at about 7 and made this speech and yada, yada, yada. But anyway, we'll get into all of that here in just a moment. What I do want to talk about, starting off, first of all, is Matthew Kroll. Do you know who Matthew Kroll is? I didn't know who he was until I saw this story. And wow, what a story. Matthew Kroll, if you don't know, is an insurrectionist. I'm not saying he was an insurrectionist. He is an insurrectionist. And Mr. Kroll was found guilty of being an insurrectionist. Okay? Mr. Kroll is 65 years old. Matthew Thomas Kroll. He's serving a 4-year sentence in his role in the January 6th insurrection. He declined medical treatment. Let me just tell you. He declined medical treatment for a heart condition that he has, because he didn't want to be treated by black medical personnel at the jail. This is Matthew Kroll. Now, he goes on to complain that he felt like that he would decline because the black medical personnel was coming from Harvard School of Medicine. Not the Harvard, I'm saying the Howard School of Medicine. Okay? And it's so sad. He said that Howard is an HBCU. Kamala Harris graduated from Howard. Biden spoke at Howard. And he doesn't trust those doctors. So he doesn't want them treating him. He wants special privileges. He wants a white doctor. That's not going to happen. And it shouldn't happen. Okay? It shouldn't happen. So what should they do? Inquiring minds want to know. He goes on to complain that, hey, he's having problems breathing. He's having atrial fibrillation. He's having all of those things. He says he wakes up at night and can't breathe, and he thinks he's going to die. He's trying to elicit sympathy. But dude, you're racist. You are the worst kind of racist, that you would rather die than to get treatment from a black doctor. I saw some television show a while back, and then I forgot what it was, and this guy had a car accident, and he needed a blood transfusion. The only person that was available at the time was a black person who had matched his blood type, and it saved his life. When the guy woke up and asked how was his life saved and how did he get that blood, and saw that a black man had saved his life, he went ballistic. He said, I wish you would have let me die. I wish they would have too. Look, I'm sorry. I don't have time for racists. I don't have time for bigots. At this point in my life, I've had enough of those people. I've lived with them long enough And if look, at the end of the day, they're not going to change who they are. So why are we spinning our wheels trying to hope that they change? Why are we praying for our enemies? That is the biggest bunch of crap that I could ever say. I'm just going to be honest with you. All right? So Matthew Kroll, in my opinion, he deserves to die. Okay, and I would rather that he doesn't serve out his 4 years and just go ahead and die. That takes some money off the taxpayers. Take some of that burden off the taxpayers. Okay? And by the way, when you die in prison, you don't get to go home. He says, I can't even sing the national anthem. That's the irony, because see, these people have been going, and Marjorie Taylor Greene, we're going to talk about her in a little bit. She's one of the advocates. These people are hostages. Nancy Mace, these people are hostages. They're not hostages. They committed a crime. They tried to overthrow the government. They tried to keep the peaceful transition of power. They tried to change that whole dynamic, something that we've all dealt with for decades. They deserve to be in jail. No one told them to go to the Capitol and storm that Capitol. No one told them. There were a lot of people who went and stood outside. Those people who went inside, your asses need to be fried. And I'm loving it. And they get up apparently every morning, from what I've heard, and they sing the national anthem. Really? The irony. What an oxymoronic thing to be doing. How can you be singing the national anthem when in fact you try to overthrow the very government which that anthem represents, although that anthem is racist? Maybe that's why they're doing it. They're trying to subtly support their bigotry and racism by singing the national anthem. Doesn't make any sense to me. It shouldn't make any sense to you. So you, Mr. Kroll, why don't you go and do us all a favor? And I'm not trying to be mean, but clearly I have no sympathy for racist, period. As far as I'm concerned, they all should be dead. You look at the history and what they've done to us as black people, as the Native Americans, of people of color, all of the animus and the pain and suffering that we have experienced on this land called America is in fact because of racist. That includes the founding fathers. All of those who signed the Declaration of Independence. We've talked a lot on this show about who owned slaves. We talked about how George Washington went back and forth across the borders of Maryland because one state was free, and if a slave stayed in a state for 24 hours, if I remember the numbers correctly, that made him free. This was George Washington. George Washington would pull the teeth of slaves to make his own false teeth. Abraham Lincoln, who, although signed the Emancipation Proclamation, didn't want blacks to be free. You can go out and look at some of the things that Abraham Lincoln said about blacks. Thomas Jefferson, Sally Hemings. Word is that she was 14 years old. And he raped her consistently. And even when the descendants of Sally Hemings went to the Jefferson ranch, Monticello, and said, hey, we claim this as ours as well, many of those same people didn't want them to do that. This is some real stuff here, folks. So I don't feel sorry for racists. I just don't. The reason I'm here today is because my ancestors were part of the strongest of the strong. I tell black people this all the time when I go out and I talk to young people. I tell them, do you understand why you're here today? Do you think you're here just by happenstance? Do you think you're here just by luck? No, you're not. You're here because your ancestors, through all of the trials and tribulations that they had to go through, slavery, Jim Crow, the black codes, the rape, the murder, you are still here. That's why I love that part in Morpheus' speech. Y'all know who Morpheus is, right? When he gets up there and says, after all that we've been through and all the things that last line, we are still here. Y'all remember that in The Matrix? It is such a powerful, powerful quote. We are still here. You are still here because of your ancestors. They were the strongest of the strong. So, my point is this. Sir, go and die and burn in hell, and I hope you make sure you carry your gasoline drawers. Mr. Matthew Kroll. All right, a couple other things that we're going to talk about here as well. We're going to get to Tim Scott and Nimrata Randhawa in just a moment. But I also want to talk about Trevia Cootie. Trevia Cootie was the black woman who worked on the Trump campaign, who was trying to get Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, particularly Ruby Freeman, to say that they had somehow or another violated the voting rules. And the fact that she even attempted to do this was pathetic. I hope it comes out, how much money did she make off of Trump? Or how much money did Trump pay her to do that? I'm wondering. So here's the latest on this woman. She apparently has released an Instagram video where she is seen threatening Ruby Freeman, basically saying, hey, when all this is over, I'm coming for you. I'm paraphrasing, okay? So now, hopefully, the prosecution, Fonda Willis and her crew, are going to go after her, and word is they've asked the judge to revoke her bond. Y'all know Ruby Freeman and Shay, they went through hell. I keep seeing those. I remember reading the story where they said people would even come to her house at one point and just stormed into her home. There would have been a whole lot of dead white folks if it was my home. Would have been a whole lot of dead white folks. You in my yard, you're egging my car, you're doing all these things. Yeah, would have been a lot of dead white folks. We tired of this, folks. And they need to understand we're tired of this. And we need to make sure that they know we're tired of this. Ruby Freeman and Shay Moss, by the way, has gotten a judgment against Rudy Giuliani, who was saying they were passing around. They had illegal votes on a thumb drive that you could see clearly and I'm paraphrasing, clearly you can see this in the video. Now we know that it was a mint. What is wrong with these people? I know what's wrong with these people. They are power hungry and they're racist. The bottom line is that they are afraid that at some point they are going to be minorities. Look, I say this over and over again, and the national media, although they have tangentially touched on it. But at the end of the day, that's what this is really all about, is that they don't want to be minorities. The whole point of Donald Trump saying, hey, we want people coming from Scandinavia and Norway. We don't want them coming from those S-hole countries. You remember that conversation by the president, someone that you stupid black folks are supporting? If they had their way, your asses wouldn't even be in America. If they had their way. But y'all support them. Truvia Freeman, Truvia Cootie is one of those people. Is one of those people. And I'm hoping that her bond gets revoked. Let's let her spend some time in jail with the other black folks that you've looked down your nose at. I'm hoping that you get to spend some really positive time in jail. You deserve it. And for you to threaten a witness on a live public space, Yeah, my friend, you deserve this thing called jail. And I'm hoping that you get it. I'm hoping you get your just reward. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us if you'd like to join the show. Now, there are a couple of other things I want to talk about. We're going to get to the New Hampshire results from last night here in just a moment. But there are a few things that I want to talk about right now as we move towards that end. As I said to you earlier, as I talked about some of these insurrectionists, Truvia Freeman, Matthew Kroll, and many of the others, the irony is that a lot of these people, some of them at least, are in our Congress. Hello? A lot of these people are in our Congress. And what's going to happen to them? Because to me, that's a problem. On December 21st, apparently there was a secret meeting held by Trump officials, his crew, and people in the United States Congress. We know that now because there has been audio tape leaked to that effect. Jack Smith, who is a special prosecutor who is prosecuting Trump right now, has that information. Let me just give you the list of those people that were in that meeting. Elected officials: Jim Jordan, Louis Gohmert, Andy Biggs, Matt Gaetz, Jody Heiss, Paul Gosar, Dowdy Harris, Scott Perry, Brian Babin, and Marjorie Trader Greene. All of them was in this meeting, and there were others, but we know for a fact that those people were in that meeting. We know for a fact that those people were plotting to overthrow the United States government. Now you say, well, Dave, wait a minute, that's a little harsh. Well, let me ask you a question. The peaceful transition of power has been a mainstay in American politics from day one. Okay? It's been a mainstay. That's what really makes, one of the things that makes the democracy of the United States great. Although from its inception it had flaws. But it's better than what other countries have. Would you agree with that? I would. Would you think about it, other countries who have a democratic election, sometimes they don't leave office, sometimes it's a coup, sometimes people are murdered, all kinds of things. In America, it's not that way. And that's a good thing, in my opinion. The sad thing about it is this, is that those people were trying to circumvent that. Those 10, and here they are, elected officials, national officials. I say all the time, although you're elected from a particular state or region, when you go to Congress, when you come up here to Washington, D.C., yeah, you represent your interest. But as a whole, you represent the United States of America. Period. End of story. That's who you represent. But sadly, there are those who don't agree with that. Those people, those 10 United States congressmen, should be out of office. Those 10 United States congressmen and women, I should say, should not be in office. And of course, many of them asked for a pardon because they knew Matt Gaetz, we know for a fact he asked for a pardon. So dude, if you were doing something that was above board, why would you ask for a pardon? Word is that some of the others asked for a pardon. That's why many of them are backing Donald Trump hook, line, and sinker. See, people ask the question, well, wait a minute. Why are these people backing Donald Trump? They know he's a liar. They know he's a bigot. They know he's a 91-count indicted ex-president. They are hoping and praying that Donald Trump ends up winning the election so that they can be pardoned. That's the same as those insurrectionists that are here in jail as well. They are hoping and praying. By the way, y'all realize that y'all don't get to vote anymore, right? You all that's in jail. They are hoping and praying that Donald Trump, Donald Trump, is reelected so that he will give them pardons. Because I tend to believe that Jack Smith is coming for y'all. I hope he is. I hope he is. Let's pray that he is. This cannot stand. They need to be hit with the stick so that anyone else who would have any concept or thought about doing this again, that they will understand their consequences. And I'm so sick of these people saying, well, I was just doing what the president said. Kind of sounds like those SS soldiers who were just doing what Hitler said. Where's your moral authority? One that Tim Scott likes to talk about all the time. What a sad person. Anyway, we've got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about all of that and Nimrata Randhawa and all of those, because I got to read you the stuff about her. It's really amazing. Okay? Golly, it's unbelievable to be totally honest when you hear some of her backstory. All right? You're listening to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. EnjoyThatRadio.com.
Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RearBrub.com. Holman's Dynamic Pepper Juice is lighting fires around the country. It's the new product from RearBrub.com. Use it on meats and vegetables. Add it to your gumbos and greens for an extra punch. Made with all natural ingredients, Holman's Dynamic Pepper Juice will enhance the flavors of your favorite recipes. Order today on RearBrub.com. And while there, be sure to check out some of our other great products. It's developed with love and care using the best all-natural ingredients with no GMOs or preservatives. From snacks to seasonings, Coleman's Dynamic Products has something for everyone. Bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah, at RearBrub.com.
Hey, beautiful. You look gorgeous. Are you doing something different? There's a healthy glow about you.
Thanks. I'm just my natural self.
Come on. What's your secret?
Okay. Since I found SkinTentional.com, I've been getting a lot of those comments.
SkinTentional.com?
Yes. SkinTentional.com is handcrafted, luxurious natural baths and body care products. Crafted for those with a designer's taste for high-quality skincare products but won't break your bank. From body butter to oils and soaps, SkinTentional has something for everyone, including the man in your life. Get your man some beard balm and oils. And yes, they offer body butters and soap for him as well, without making him smell like flowers. Go to SkinTentional.com and check out their amazing products. They believe self-care should be an intentional and joyous experience for all. SkinTentional.com.
Pigskin, check. Round ball, check. Hard ball, check. Hockey puck, check. Burning rubber, check. We got it all on the weekly sports page with David Coleman. What else do you need? Did I say food? Can't have sports without food. What kind of show is this again?
A sports show.
Oh, okay. Pass me those rib nuts.
Yeah, we do have it all, and a whole lot more with me, Dynamic David Coleman, on the weekly sports magazine.
All right, welcome back to Black Focus Radio. Our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us if you'd like to join the show. Last night we had the New Hampshire primary. The primary ended where Nikki Haley was. She was not the winner. She thought she was going to win, but she didn't. And I'm glad she didn't. I do want Donald Trump to win the primaries. I want him to match up with Biden. I don't see that he's going to win. You know, stranger things have happened, and of course, we've got some really stupid people here that even supports this guy. But with that being said, she did not win last night, but she set off a whirlwind when she made the comments that America has never been a racist country. If you remember, Tim Scott made those same stupid comments. He's black. Ben Carson, in a rally over the weekend, got on the stage, told we shouldn't be worrying about slavery. We should be worrying about trafficking and stuff today. Well, slavery is slavery regardless of when it happens and where it happens. Hello? If I get a chance, I might play that piece as well. But the fascinating thing that is going on, and let me just get you the numbers from last night as it relates to the primary. The results. I have to read that. Just saw another piece that I might want to look at. But let's get the results of the New Hampshire primary. Let's see. Donald Trump won by over 34,000 votes. He got 54% of the vote. Nikki Haley got 43%. At the time Nikki Haley came out on stage, she was down by 7 points. Although Donald Trump had been declared a winner at that time, she was down by 7 points. So it was kind of like she came out with a victory speech, and that she's not going anywhere, and this, that, and the other. And by the end of the night, where all the votes were counted, she ended up losing pretty significantly. As I said, by over 11%. That's a lot. That's a lot. But here's why she has no credibility. Because she is kowtowing to a white voting populace. See, Nikki Haley doesn't think, well, let me put it this way. Nimrata thinks that she's white. That's why she can say, well, America has never been a racist country. I'm so thankful my mom and dad never told me America was not racist. So let me just counter what she has been saying, along with Tim Scott and Ben Carson, both who are in sunken places. Because that campaign rally that Tim Scott did for Donald Trump over the weekend was just pathetic. And here's the thing, what Scott is trying to do is Tim Scott wants to run for vice president. That's what he wants to do. He wants to run for vice president. He always talks about moral authority. How can you talk about moral authority when you're supporting a person who has no morals? He even went as far as to use a Fannie Lou Hamer line. We're sick and tired of being sick and tired. With white people. Oh, God. Everybody is free to have their own views and say what they want to say, but at some point, and I say this all the time to black people, and I won't say my black friends who are Republicans, because I don't have black Republican friends. I don't have many white Republican friends, and if they are, they don't let me know, because you cannot be my friend if you are against my basic functionality as a black person in America. We can disagree on policy. We can disagree on abortion and all kinds of other things. But what we can't disagree on, as you understanding that you and I are one and the same when it comes to human beings. You and I are one and the same. So if we cannot come to that agreement, then you can't be my friend. So let me do this, because Nikki Haley is dangerous. Nimrata Randhawa is dangerous. And you keep asking, well, why do I keep calling her that? That's her real name. And the question is, why is it that she don't use her real name? Vivek Ramaswamy realized at the end of the Iowa caucuses as to why people are not voting for him. And even in an exit poll where one of the reporters, it was Vivek's wife, and they asked basically, and although Vivek's wife doesn't look like she's Hindu, but she is, many of those exit pollers said, well, I'm not voting for him because he has brown skin. He has a different religion. Yada, yada, yada. Although he supported Trump and has steadfastly talked about the greatness of Trump, they still did not vote for them. They still didn't. And you can make that same argument against Nikki Haley. Why? If they really believed in her, why didn't they vote for her in Iowa? Why didn't they vote for her and have her win in New Hampshire? Because at the end of the day, they understand that they don't want her. Nimrata Randhawa, they don't want her representing America. That's not America. And that also feeds into their fear that we are now becoming a country that is going to be dominated by people of color. Nimrata Randhawa understands that. But remember, I got receipts. Okay? They migrated from Canada to Bamberg, South America. The father, Ajit Singh Randhawa, had been hired to teach biology at a nearby HBCU, Voorhees College. The mother, Raj Randhawa, was a trained lawyer, having left behind lives of comfort and status in the homeland. Both were eager to take part in the American dream. Okay? Her father had to teach at an HBCU because white people would not hire him at regular colleges. But America's never been racist. Her parents never told her that. Wait a minute. How did you know? Because this is from her memoirs. So at some point, your parents had to tell you. You knew. Look, as we grow older as kids, maybe when we're younger, we don't really know what the world is all about. But as we grow older, we hear our parents. And I know for a fact our parents were saying some of the same things that our parents said of how they're being treated. And I guarantee you that they were treated better by black folks in South Carolina than they were by white folks. Okay? I know they were. They finally found a house, according to Randhawa. They had to buy it, not rent it. And they were told there were conditions. They could not entertain black people in it. They couldn't have alcohol in it. And they had to sell it back to the man who they bought it from. But America's never been a racist country. You grew up in an area. You grew up in one of the most racist states in America. In fact, that state, South Carolina, was one of the first to file articles of the Confederacy to remove themselves from the Union. Hello? You were the governor of this state. You should know this history. But America has never been a racist country. I got more for you here. Okay? I got more. She goes on to tell Brian Kilmeade, we were not a racist country. We've never been a racist country. Our goal is to make sure that today is better than yesterday. Are we perfect? No, but our goal is to always make sure we try to be a more perfect every day that we can. She goes on to say, I know I faced racism when I was growing up. Now, wait a minute. If you tell me that America's never been a racist country, yet you faced racism growing up, that math ain't mathing. That English ain't Englishing. Huh? That makes no sense whatsoever. It doesn't make sense to you, and it doesn't make sense to me. But let me just go back. I've got receipts. I can prove to you that America was a racist country. All right. Follow me along if you're listening to the show right now. Pull out your phone, your tablet, your iPad, whatever you're using right now. If you're sitting at the office and listening to the show, let's do this. Let's do this. How many people, I'm going to just do a voice. How many people who signed the Declaration of Independence owned slaves? Let me try it again. How many people who signed the Declaration of Independence owned slaves? See, the great thing about Google or any search engine now, you can just ask the question. Okay? Here's the answer. 41 of the 56 signers of the Declaration of Independence owned slaves. Hello? Now, when I say owned slaves, that means that they controlled their lives. That means that they stole their children. That means that they raped their children. That means that they killed them unconsciously. That's what I mean. 41. Let's do another one, class. How many presidents owned slaves? Here's a list of presidents who owned slaves. Look at here. Wow. Wow. Okay. Let's see here. President. Wow. George Washington. George Washington owned anywhere between 250 and 600 slaves. Thomas Jefferson. 200 to 600. James Madison, 100 plus. James Monroe, 75. Andrew Jackson, 200. Martin Van Buren, he only owned one, but he owned them just the same, and I'm sure that he took advantages of other slaves as well. William Henry Harrison, John Tyler, James Polk, Zachary Taylor, Andrew Johnson, Ulysses Grant. Hello. But America's never been a racist country. Never have. And I'm doing this because, see, there are stupid people out there like Tim Scott who made this comment as well. And I can take you through history. I can take you through the Civil War and why was that important? Because those white, see, they try to tell you is that the Civil War was not about slavery. The Civil War was about states' rights, and they are right. It was about the states' rights to own slaves. You see how they cut that off? Those states wanted to continue to own slaves. But America was not a racist country. We went through a civil war. And then even after the Civil War, they paid those slave owners for the slaves that they lost due to the Emancipation Proclamation. I talked to you about Abraham Lincoln, who didn't want to sign the Emancipation Proclamation, but had no choice because the Union side was losing the war. So when black folks or black Republicans and white Republicans say, oh, well, we freed the slaves. Y'all were just as racist as the damn Democrats. And the only reason that you freed them was because you were losing the damn war. See, if you don't know history, you would know that. So that's the Civil War. But was that about racism? You, Nikki Haley, should know that because your state was the first to sign those declarations to remove yourself from the Union. You, Nikki Haley, should know that. Interesting, isn't it? Yeah, it is. It is. Then you go forward and you deal with the black codes. You deal with the bloody Summers, Ocoee, Elaine, Tulsa, Wilmington. There were over 100 race, and I would say race riots, where black people were turned out of their homes, where black people were murdered because they were living in their own enclaves, doing well, and white people were jealous. None of those people were found guilty. None of them served any time. In the 1920s, there were black soldiers who were going over and fighting in World War I only to come back home to abject racism. There was a group in Houston who fought against racism. Many of them were convicted. Black men. You talk about Jim Crow. If America was never racist, what's the deal on Jim Crow? I think about Dr. Charles Drew, who was the first to set up blood transfusion. Was injured in a car wreck. They took him to a white hospital, and they refused to perform the very procedure that he had created to save his life, and he died. White hospitals, black hospitals, white hotels, black hotels. The Green Book was, if you all have seen that movie, the Green Book was created. This was a book that had places that black people could go and stay and eat if they were traveling. White water fountains. Nikki Haley, I guess you've never seen Eyes on the Prize. Why were those black people being abused? Why were they having dogs and water hoses turned on them? I'm sure you knew about John Lewis. Why did he get hit upside the head on the Edmund Pettus Bridge? Sitting at the back of the bus, why did Rosa Parks stand up, or I should say sit down? But Nikki, you're saying that America has never been a racist country. What about World War II, when black soldiers went and fought in Germany to not only free Europe, but America as well? And when they captured German soldiers, they were made to give up their seats for the enemy because those enemy was white. Did y'all know that? Did you know that, Nikki Haley? Did you know that, Tim Scott, and all you stupid black folks who are saying that America has never been a racist country? See, this is why they don't want you to study history. That's why they don't want you to understand history, because it exposes this country for what it really was. Now, is it as bad as it was then? No. It's still a racist country. Did you not just elect Donald Trump 4 years ago? Well, 8 years ago? A racist who went after Barack Obama? We had an opportunity when Barack Obama was elected president to prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that we had moved to a post-racial society. Apparently we had not. Okay? Apparently we had not. And we have not. That's where the Tea Party came from. And then, of course, the media, oh, well, these people are just aggrieved. And no, they were upset because they were going to have to deal with bigotry and their racism, and they didn't want a black president. Even the night of the inauguration, Nimrata Randhawa, white Republicans gathered on a hill to try to figure out a way to thwart Barack Obama. Mitch McConnell basically said that they're going to do anything they can to keep Barack Obama from being successful. Had nothing to do with politics, had everything to do with his race. We know that. But America's never been a racist country. The redlining. Oh, let me not forget about the CIA dumping crack cocaine into our communities. When I say our communities, I mean black communities. Let me not forget about that. Why did they do that? And they were so stupid that they didn't realize that, you know, as that old saying goes, if what goes on in the black community eventually affects the white community. Now look what's going on now, the opioid crisis. But America has never been a racist country. What Nikki Haley, or I should say Nimrata Randhawa, doesn't understand is that had people like Donald Trump and his ilk had their way, her family would have never been able to migrate to America, and she would not have been able to be a governor of South Carolina. And before we go to break, I want to remind people of one other thing. I've heard some people say, well, you know, Nikki Nimrata Randhawa can stand on what happened in South Carolina. How the hell did you figure that? Oh, well, she did take the Confederate flag down. Yes, she did. But why did she take it down? And why did it take her so long? Should be the real question. Because Nimrata Randhawa was elected in 2011. That flag was still flying above the Capitol. I don't recall Nimrata doing anything to take that flag down. And then Mother Manual happened. You know, the racists who went into the church hoping to start a race war and shot up and killed all of those black folks. Because of pressure and political expediency, she took the flag down. But why wouldn't she have taken that flag down 3 to 4 years earlier? I told you, this woman is dangerous. She's a liar. She will do anything for power. She's dangerous. And at the end of the day, we don't really have to worry about her being elected. Because guess what's going to happen? The white racists are going to make sure that they get their racist in chief, at least to win the Republican nomination. Then we don't really have to worry about her at this point. I'm just saying. American politics. Ben Carson. Tim Scott. And we know Tim Scott. Right now, Donald Trump doesn't have anyone else. Let me ask you a question. I heard Nimrata Randhawa say that even if she loses to Trump, she's still going to support him. So if that's the case, why are you even running against him and saying the things that you're saying against him? Why? If he's that morally bankrupt, as you say, he's so old, and he is old. Biden is old too. If he's that bad, why are you still supporting him? I think that speaks volumes. We're going to take our last break. When we come back, what we must do. You're listening to Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. Back in a moment.
Hey, beautiful. You look gorgeous. Are you doing something different? There's a healthy glow about you.
Thanks. I'm just my natural self.
Come on. What's your secret?
Okay. Since I found SkinTentional.com, I've been getting a lot of those comments.
SkinTentional.com?
Yes. SkinTentional.com is handcrafted, luxurious natural baths and body care products. Crafted for those with a designer's taste for high-quality skincare products but won't break your bank. From body butter to oils and soaps, Skintentional has something for everyone, including the man in your life. Get your man some beard balm and oils, and yes, they offer body butters and soap for him as well, without making him smell like flowers. Go to skintentional.com and check out their amazing products. They believe self-care should be an intentional and joyous experience for all. Skintentional.com.
Business owner, can I talk to you for a moment? How many people have come up to you and said, hey, I didn't know you had a business? Yeah, that can happen when you don't advertise. I have a solution for you. Advertise on joynetradio.com and let the world know that you're in business. I know what you're thinking. Advertising is so expensive. I've got a great package for you that will cut your expense and increase your bottom line. It's only $125 for startup and new businesses. Call me, David W. Coleman, at 615-554-0568, and I'll put together a package specifically for your business. Now is the time to tell the world, hey, I'm in business. Come spend your money on quality goods in my store. Let us help you at joynetradio.com. Here's the number. Call me, 615-554-0568. We are here to assist you in building your brand.
Coleman's Dynamic Products would like to thank you for all the support you've given us over the years. Our growth could not have happened without your purchases and word of mouth to your friends and family. That says you believe and trust us to provide Coleman's Dynamic Products with no fillers and all natural ingredients. We began with our flagship product, Rib Rub, and now it has expanded into snacks, seasonings, salts, rib juice, and pepper juice. We could not have done it without you. I'm David W. Coleman, founder and president, and I want to personally thank you for the encouraging words and support. Coleman's Dynamic Products will continue to be the best dry marinades, seasonings, and sauces you've ever put in your mouth. That's ribrub.com, RIBBRUBB. And you know what we like to say, bake it, grill it, smoke it. Oh yeah. Welcome back to our last segment of What We Must Do. Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. 855-525-5683 is the number. That's how you get in touch with us. If you'd like to join the show, a lot of things to talk about today. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. This is my favorite segment of the show. And by the way, as I told you all before, we now emanate from Washington, D.C. So, let me think about this for a minute. Every day we do what we must do, and I talk about the power of our economic dollars and controlling our dollars, and I think that's important for us to do. That's the key. But in this climate right now, there's another key that we should do. I always talk about the power of your dollar. And when you go to a business, you go to that business and you spend your money at that business because they have a good or service that they can offer you. In other words, you vote with your dollar. That your dollar is a vote. Whatever business it is, whether it's a big box store, whether it's a car dealership, whether it's a restaurant, the fact that you are willing to put gas in your car, load up some friends, take your hard-earned money and give it to them for a service, that's a vote. It's important to you. And I promise you that if that person, that service, that company gives you bad service or does something egregious that you don't agree with it, you're going to be all over social media talking about it. We see it all the time. We tend to see it more when it comes down to black businesses, black on black hate. But the point is that you're going to be upset, right? You're upset that you gave them your money. And a lot of times you ask, I want my money back. Okay. The other way that you can spend your money. It's through your vote. Your voting, that's voting capital. But ironically, for most of us, we've allowed people in our community who have no clue, who get on the internet to do their research, who dispel any credible sources to try to tell us things, like Charlamagne, who doesn't know his butt from a hole in the ground. I'm going to tell you this, is that you as black people can be stupid all you want and not go to the polls. Guess what's going to happen? I, for the first time in my life, and I may not look it, I know I got a lot of gray hair here. I could dye it if I wanted to, but I don't. I kind of like my gray. For the first time in my life, and I lived through the 60s and the 70s. I've seen the evolution of this country. I've had the opportunity to see some great things by this country, but I've also seen many failures, many things that this country could have done. I've seen it. And for the first time in my life, when you talk about turning the clock back, I'm in fear. I'm not in fear of white people. I'm in fear of the laws that they can pass. You know, Nikki Haley says that we've never been a racist country, yet voter suppression is real. Redlining is real. But we've never been a racist country because Nimrata Randhawa, she operates in the white sphere. I can't do that. But the only way to really equalize the playing field is with your ballot. You can have all the money you want. You still be treated badly. Remember the stories of the NBA player in Milwaukee who went to the jewelry store to buy jewels, spend thousands of dollars? Or there was another story about a rapper who went to a jewelry store and they wouldn't let him in because they thought he was a thug. They didn't know who he was. They looked at his skin and decided that you don't belong here. And then to prove a point, he goes in and buys. He gives them his money anyway, which is that's still a sickness. If someone doesn't want my money, I'm not going to spend my money with you. If I find out that a business is a racist, and I may have been going to that business, eating or whatever the case may be, as soon as you're revealed to who you are, I'm not getting any more of my cash. I don't need to prove to you that I'm equal to you. You see what I'm saying? But for whatever reasons, black people tend to believe that they have to prove to white people that I'm equal to you. No, you just need to make sure that the laws are just and equal. And how do you do that? You do that by going to the polls and voting. Our most powerful weapon is our vote. And if it wasn't powerful, why are they doing so much to try to keep you from voting? That's the question I ask black people who don't vote. If it wasn't that important, why did they? Well, let me ask you, why was Wilmington uprooted? Why do we have the bloody summer? Yeah, it had a lot to do with economics, but it also had a lot to do, why do we have Ocoee? It had a lot to do with black people voting. Hello? Go read the story of Wilmington. That's exactly what happened in Wilmington and many other of these towns that were predominantly black. Your most powerful weapon is your vote. That's something that they can't take away from you. We've been lied to by our parents. Unbeknownst to them, they weren't doing it purposely. They say, oh, go to school, get an education. They can't take that from you. Yeah, they do. They do it by not giving you a job. But guess what? They can't take your vote. As long as you're registered, as long as you're not a convicted felon, they can't touch your vote. That's what I want you all to understand here. Is what we must do is make sure, beyond a shadow of a doubt, that we are flocking to the polls in mass numbers. We need to make sure that as soon as someone in your household turns 18, that they go and vote. They go get their voter registration card. And not only should we just vote, we should vote with a conscience. And when you begin to vote with a conscience, or when you begin to vote in a block, then you'll start to get in respect from not only Democrats and Republicans. Because they know that, hey, when you vote in a block, you have a set group of items that you want that particular person to accomplish. And if they don't accomplish it, that's fine. Okay, good. You can't get frustrated and say, oh, well, see, they never do what they say they're going to do. Okay, that's fine. What do? You go vote in a block the next election and you vote their asses out. That's how this thing works. You cannot be so conscious to think that, or unconscious, to think that if I vote one time, everything's going to change overnight. This system was established to be anti-black, to be anti-minority. So what you have to do is fight within the system. They tell you all the time, man, we need to go join the police departments because we need to be at the table. Well, okay, if that argument is true, then you also need to be at the table when it comes to voting. Hello? That's what we must do. I hope you enjoyed the show. It's called Black Focus Radio, our issues, our solutions, our voices. Don't forget to like and share the show. Don't forget to go out to the podcast and search for Black Focus Radio. We're on last I checked, we're on 7 or 8 different of the major platforms. Hit us up on Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook. And if you would like to sponsor this segment or any other, please give me a call at 615-554-0568. And as I leave, just remember, brilliant minds discuss ideas, average minds discuss events, and small minds discuss people. Which do you possess? Y'all have a great day.
You've been listening to Black Focus, where we discuss our issues with our solutions and our voices. Join us every weekday afternoon at 1 p.m. on joynetradio.com.